What's good, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome back to Kingdom Connects. As today I'm going to give you my way too early Kansas City Chiefs 2022 schedule predictions. With that too, how I'm going to go about this is basically trying to categorize it by months, and then we're just going to have fun and go game by game. But before we do dive into this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I will keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's jump into this video. Now, before we do jump into this video, I do want to kind of have a disclaimer, because as we all know, and as a lot of people who are going to view this video, they're going to be Kansas City Chiefs fans, and I am a Kansas City Chiefs fan. That means I am very optimistic about this season. That means this record that I'm going to have at the end of this video is going to be very, very good. So any other fan base who's checking in and thinks I'm high off other drugs, don't be shocked, because I still believe in this team like crazy. Like I mentioned, we're going to dive into it month by month, and then I'll categorize it by that. And then I'm going to mention why I think we will win some games and why I think we will lose some games, and just basically go off of that. And of course, I want to hear how you guys view how Kansas City is going to do this year as well. So let me know your records in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's dive into the month of September, and I think early October, where it's going to be Arizona, the Chargers, Colts, and Buccaneers. I got Kansas City coming out at 3-1. Now, if you want to take a guess on who you think I have losing in that month, I'll give you a minute. Give you a quick minute on it. Actually, I'll give you 5 seconds. You had your time to think? Here it is. So who I think we're going to lose to early on is going to be the same as last year too. I think we're going to take an L against the Chargers. This one was kind of really hard to decide for me. So let's go week by week here until we jump into the month of October. So honestly, I can see the season starting out very similar to how it did last year when we versed Cleveland last year, and it was high intensity, back and forth game. I can see the exact same thing happening against the Cardinals too. Cardinals know how to start a season off right, so don't just think this is a gimme game. Arizona always falls off at the end of the year, but they know how to start a season, and they will give Kansas City their best punch to start them off 0-1, and I don't know how many years. Kansas City doesn't usually start 0-1, and I don't predict them to here, but I expect this to be a high-scoring game and a close game. I just expect Kansas City to take it. This is why I have Kansas City losing to the Chargers, because then you got to take that unfortunate short week. And I know it's an Arrowhead, and they lost to Chargers last year in Arrowhead as well. But with that too, I just think the short week victim is going to get it here. And I was trying to categorize it because I know they're going to lose early on. I don't think they're going to lose many early on, but I knew they were going to lose early on. And I had to decide between the Chargers and Colts, because Colts are going to be a very tough matchup as well. The reason I went with Chargers over the Colts is because of basically the time differential, like the week that comes into it, where you've had a tough opponent against the Cardinals. You only get 4 days, 3 days rest until you get into another game, unlike the Chargers, which Andy Reid is really good at with a longer week and a bye week. So the Colts are a very difficult opponent, but when you give Andy Reid enough time to, work his magic and game plan against another opponent, he's usually successful. So no matter how hard the opponent is, that's why I have them getting that long week going into Indy and taking a W. And then you got the Buccaneers, where I think it's a revenge matchup. I know the game is not high prolific. It's not a Super Bowl, but Mahomes wants to avenge himself, definitely against Tom Brady. So that's going to be a W. I have a hard time seeing Kansas City lose that game against the Buccaneers. I think Mahomes is going to do everything in his right to make sure Kansas City wins that game and starts the season off 3-1. Now, our next slate of games through the month of October, we have the Raiders on Monday night, we got the Buffalo Bills, and we got the San Francisco 49ers. And then I got them going on a stretch here of a 2-1. After the Niners is our bye week. And of course, if you guessed it, I really believe Buffalo is going to beat us, even in our place too. And yeah, now you're looking at like, damn, he has us losing 2 home games this year so far. You got to think about it too. And Kansas City has done this in prior years as well. Is they seem to be more better on the road than at home. No matter how loud Arrowhead is, no matter how great of a home field advantage it is, people have come in and won in Arrowhead. But KC's road record over the past year has either been as good at home, if not better. This team is very good no matter where they play. Just sometimes they do lose at home, and I think the Buffalo game we'll dive into, actually, because I don't want to, disrespect any Raider fans that are going to check in, because I know you well, to see my prediction. So let's jump into Monday night. Again, Andy Reid gets another longer day to prepare for a team, so that's an advantage there. Also, too, Monday night in Arrowhead, Showtime Mahomes, he loves the limelight. He's played very well on Monday night before. I know the Giants game wasn't the greatest in that, and then you had the Rams game too, prior years, where, yeah, it was an L and then a struggle game. But when the lights are on, he is his best. And also when it's the Raiders, Kansas City knows how to put up points. We're going to see how different this Raiders team is next year. But again, I don't think no matter how they change, definitely early on in the season, Kansas City will still take a W. Then we're going to go to Buffalo. Well, actually, Buffalo is going to come to us. And I just feel like Buffalo, they'll do whatever they can to win this game. Kind of like how I mentioned, Kansas City is going to do whatever they need to beat the Buccaneers. I think it's just vice versa roles. And honestly, I would rather the Buffalo Bills beat us in the regular season, and then we play them in the postseason and have a little vengeance there and be like, oh, you thought you was better than us? Kind of like last year, where they came in and beat us, and then we, handled business at home and handled our home field advantage. It could be a similar role like last year, and that's what I'm going to go with. Now, a very interesting game, even though I have Kansas City winning, and I was kind of, very iffy on this, and that's the San Francisco 49ers before going into the bye week. Now, this is where it's going to get very interesting because we don't know what Trey Lance is. San Francisco can be like an amazing Super Bowl team, or they can be a team that's kind of held back by their quarterback, which we're very familiar with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Trey Lance is like guns blazing, guns firing, and all that like Patrick Mahomes was in his first year. This can be a very, very different game. But with this, I'm going to go with the proven head coach and the proven quarterback combo. I know Kyle Shanahan is a great head coach. I just don't know what Trey Lance brings, and especially early on in the season. We're not even in the month of November yet, so it's going to be interesting to see how San Fran is clicking. And you try to look back into last year with San Fran, they struggled early part of the year, and then they came on with their playoff stretch towards the end of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see what the San Francisco 49ers are working with, but I'm going to get Kansas City the win just because I feel like they are a better team. And at this point, headed into the bye week, I got the Kansas City Chiefs at 5-2. Really solid, probably better than what a lot of people are predicting, definitely with this hard schedule. And then Kansas City with all these changes, no Tyreek Hill, no Tyrann Mathieu. People think this team is different. Just because the team is different doesn't mean they can't be any better. So 5-2 heading into the bye. Let's see what I have after the next 9 weeks of the season. Now we're jumping into the month of November, where Kansas City will take on the Tennessee Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, their second matchup with the Chargers in LA, and then the Los Angeles Rams. Now, after the bye week, I got them going on a little winning streak here. I got them winning out the month of November. And let's break it down on how I view this right now. So Tennessee, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting matchup, but also too, I mentioned this, and won't be mentioning this. I think this is the vengeance game for Kansas City. Tennessee really showed them out last year. And was it an Arrowhead? I can't recall whether it was, whether it wasn't. They blew us out. They shut us up, and it was really a reality check. I think even though it's a different year, I think that game is still in Kansas City's mind. And also, too, I think Tennessee has taken a step back. So with all that playing into factors, too, and I know people, they have their points where they think Kansas City is taking a step back. I don't believe that. And also, too, we're going to have to see how that's going to be another main factor, too. If Ryan Tannehill is doing his thing and making sure Malik Willis isn't going to, he's keeping that hot seat very hot for him. But if he's clicking on all cylinders, it's going to be interesting to see. And also, too, Tennessee's missing their number one wide receiver in A.J. Brown. So how does Treylon Burks take over? I think with those big key components and A.J. Brown missing, and I know you got to still focus on Derrick Henry, but it's not like you have to focus on both of them. So we're going to see how things are clicking. But I think with this, I just think Kansas City, that game is in the back of their heads. They probably got it marked on their calendars because of what kind of ass whooping they took last year. This is another one like the Buccaneers game. I find it very, very hard to see Kansas City losing this game. Now, we're going to go against Jacksonville. And again, this could be a trap game. It's something you got to watch out for. We don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to do, but at the end of the day, I still think Kansas City is a better team. It's going to be interesting again. How does Doug Peterson have the Jacksonville Jaguars? Are they going to be competing at this point in the season, or is it going to be them still finding themselves? I still think they'll be a decent team. I just don't think they're going to be anywhere near Kansas City's level, because I think Kansas City is going to have a new game plan to where a lot of people are going to have to catch on again. And now we're going to go into LA, the one where Travis Kelce is very familiar with the walk-off. This is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a very, very exciting game. But there was no way in hell that I was going to let the Chargers sweep us. It just wasn't going to happen. I don't know which one either one of these take. KC could take it early on, and then the Chargers could take it later on. How I see how our schedule is laid out and how it breaks out, I think this is where Kansas City usually goes on their run, definitely after their bye week. And I think this is where the hot streak begins. That's why I have them beating the Chargers. Now, we're speaking about LA, but we're going to LA. Ooh, wait, hold up 1 second. I think I got this on. Oh, that's where I got it mixed up. I had to check the computer real quick. Yeah, the Rams come to us. I knew both games weren't in LA, so the Rams come to us. This is going to be a fun, exciting game. A rematch of that high prolific scoring game that both teams scored over 100 points combined. Of course, teams are very, very different now from 2018, but also too, big factor in this, I think Mahomes pays attention to all this, is the Rams are one of the few teams he has never beaten. Yeah, it's crazy to say that. I think there's only 4 teams Mahomes has never beaten, and one of them is the Rams, the others the Vikings, and then I can't remember the other two, but he didn't even play against the Vikings because that was the game Matt Moore came in. But the Rams game, he was very close. If he had a lick of a defense, he would have done it. And I think that's what plays a factor in here is I think defense is going to be really better. And I think he knows that Rams are one of the teams he's never beaten. And the fact you only play him once every 4 years, unless it's a Super Bowl matchup, he's going to get that W, and he's going to close off the month of November. So, closing off the month of November, I got the Kansas City Chiefs at 9-2 heading into December, and then they go into their, you could say it isn't brutal, but I'm going to say it's brutal because nobody ever wants to go into a 3-game road stretch, and they're going to start it off. Let me check the calendar real quick, the schedule. So they're going to start off with the Bengals, Broncos, and Texans, and then they come home against the Seahawks. I got them going 3-1 in that stretch. I'm not having them lose against the Bengals. There's no way in hell I can see them losing 3 times against the Cincinnati Bengals. If any game, like I've mentioned it plenty of times, the Buccaneers, the Tennessee Titans, if there's any game marked on this calendar, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost to them twice last year. There's something Cincinnati's doing correct because they always come back and beat us. Kansas City's going to put on a show, and they're going to make sure they don't come back. Mahomes knows what's good. It's December. It's time to show out. Let's go 10-2. That's what I'm doing. But after a high-intensity game like that against Joe Burrow, I got Denver finally beating us. Russ is cooking. Now, I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun game. I think this is a Sunday night one. But also, too, I think Denver's going to be in good contention. Denver is almost an all-around complete team. We just have to see what Russ brings. I do not see Kansas City sweeping them this year. So I will give them the one where they are at home. And that'll drop Kansas City to 10-3 going into Houston. And Houston, like I mentioned, could be another trap game. Davis Mills was cooking at the end of the year last year. And also, too, the Chargers fell for their trap game against the Texans last year. But I think Kansas City's better than that. I think they're well aware of what they need to be and do throughout the season, and definitely in the month of December. I think they take that one to go to 11-3. And then, of course, we come back home to Seattle. And honestly, no disrespect to Seattle whatsoever, because I don't know what Seattle can be. I don't know what type of team they're going to try to build. But Kansas City, on the field, on paper, is a better team. That should not be a game they lose. They should go 12-3. It's in Arrowhead. Drew Lock, he's a huge Chiefs fan, as we all know, but I think you're going to be very unlucky again. I think what Pete Carroll's going to try to do with Seattle, like normally, is try to make them Seattle Seahawks a run power team. And if Kansas City can stop the run, I think you stop the Seattle Seahawks whether DK Metcalf goes off or not. I think Kansas City is just a better team. So I got the Kansas City Chiefs wrapping up the month of December at 12-3, heading into January, the last 2 games of the year. Denver comes to us, and then we go to Vegas to close it out. Just because I had the Broncos beating us once, they are not sweeping us. It won't happen, especially not in Arrowhead. Kansas City will move to 13-3. I think it'll be a fun, exciting game. The Bronco and Chiefs games are always close. They just needed a quarterback to get them over the hump. And I felt like with Russ, he'll get them one win against the Chiefs, but he's definitely not sweeping us. And let's go to the season finale. What the schedule makers wanted, what they are hoping for is a showout like last year with the Chargers and Raiders to hopefully, get those ratings up, have a fun, thrilling game, maybe an overtime game. I know a lot of Chiefs fans gonna hate where I'm gonna go here, but at a 13-3 record, I think Kansas City can be very close to tying up a number 1 seed. It's going to depend on what the Buffalo Bills do, but I don't think too much is in jeopardy, especially with the number 1 seed or even a number 2 seed at that. It just depends on how close they are, but I think that might get you your number 1 seed. So with that, I don't have Kansas City taking this game too seriously. With that being said, yes, I do have us closing out with the L just because I predict most of the backups to be in, and that could get the Raiders into the playoffs. Just depends on how they do throughout the year. So the 4 losses I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking this year is early on against the Chargers, early on against the Bills, then we come back and we lose to the Broncos, and then we lose to the Raiders. As you see, what I did here is I basically have us splitting in the division. I think our toughest opponents this year will be in the division. I believe no matter what, Kansas City will excel against every other team, just not Buffalo, because Buffalo, they're a very good team. They look like they could belong here, but again, even last year in the season, they had their inconsistency route. So we'll have to see what they provide through a full 17, 18-week season. Also, too, we're going to dive into the NFC side because I know a lot of people are going to be like, damn, you have them going undefeated against the NFC. They did last year, too. There's something about Andy Reid where he's always great against the NFC. Like, just look at the record. He's either 3-1, 4-0. Last year he was 5-0 with the new schedule layout. So he knows what he's doing against the NFC. That's why I'm not too concerned about the NFC. He always finds a way to win those games. The only NFC game I could be really concerned about is the San Francisco 49ers. But we got to see what Trey Lance is doing at that point. And then, of course, the record itself, 13-4. People are going to be like I mentioned, you are high and you were smoking that good shit. Hey, this is still the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just a new look. I feel like they're going to be very effective. They're going to have people in their places, and they're going to be a really good team. I think the difference is they're more balanced, so the offense might not be as good, but the offense could still be a top 5 offense. The difference is there's a potential this defense could be a top 10 defense, not early on. That's where I struggle with it, and where a lot of Chiefs fans need to realize too is this defense takes a minute to click in. They will struggle in the month of September, and they don't get clicking until mid-November. I don't think that'll change as well, especially with these young players. So don't hit the panic button too soon because this team can be really good. Just hold patience. How do you feel about my 13-4 prediction? Let me know your predictions down below in the comments. With that, I am checking out. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Please be sure to like this video. And with that, y'all take care. And I'm closing this thing out.